At InDigital, we know that public safety professionals hold themselves to a high standard. In fact, standard doesn't do it justice. In over 25 years working alongside you, carrying millions of calls over our IP networks, your dedication has inspired us. That's why our ESINet goes beyond industry standards, not only I3 compliant, but designed to adapt to future development for a network you can count on when it matters most. Learn more at indigital.net.
Here in Greenville County, we have 8 different places where a 911 call can be answered.
It is the largest county in South Carolina. It's a challenge.
The type of information that a telecommunicator gets from Radius Plus is location-based technology. You can see where the caller is, if they have a medical issue, if they speak a different language. They're immediately able to text to that caller in their native language. It reduces response times because it immediately gets first responders where they need to be.
Carbyne, it's multimedia. You can get text, translate to whatever language, getting away with the legacy equipment and going into a cloud-based solution.
It's the first time in U.S. history that we have an EZNet through cloud-native call handling.
As a police officer, to have the victim go video, that's unheard of.
You're getting upgrades every month, not every year.
To schedule your free Carbyne demo, please visit carbyne.com/WTT.
If Within the Trenches has ever taught you something, open your eyes to what it is like to be a 911 dispatcher, or has inspired you to become one, then help support us and join our Patreon. Get exclusive bonus content, one-of-a-kind swag, discounts on merchandise, ad-free early access to new episodes, and much more. To join, please visit patreon.com/WTT podcast. And if you're an industry partner, we have something for you as well. And now, for the show.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned. Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and this is Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them. This episode is sponsored by InDigital as well as Rapid Deploy and Carbyne, and I just wanted to jump in here really quick because this is going to be the follow-up to the Imagine Listening session that I did in Galveston for the Texas Public Safety Conference, and this is going to be open mic. So this is where we share the lighter side of dispatch, all the funny stuff that happens, and it was it was a pretty good session. Of course, with Imagine Listening, you start out with all the emotionally intense stories, some of the harder ones, but also some saves, of course, are shared during that time as well. And there were definitely some hard stories that were being shared. And then, the last half is open mic. We finish it off with some humor, because I'm a firm believer that laughing is good medicine. So without further ado, here is open mic from Galveston and the 2022 Texas Public Safety Conference.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
Dispatch. There is no one over here to cook our lunch. We are waiting for our lunch, and there's no one here to cook our lunch.
All right, calm down. Where are you at?
The group home. Now what are you gonna do?
We'll get some help over there for you, okay?
Welcome to Open Mic, where we visit the lighter side of dispatch, because laughing is good medicine. Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and we are here to do Open Mic Live. We just finished doing Imagine Listening. We shared some powerful stories, but now it's time to get to the lighter side of dispatch, and we are here live with a live audience. Let's hear it. That is what I'm talking about. We're here for the 2022 Texas Public Safety Conference, and we're going to talk about the funny shit that happens in 911. And it only takes one story for it to all go downhill. I want to ask right off the bat, how many of you know my Red Bull Red Bomb story? So, I am going to finish with that because I have never had a room that has not heard that story. You will enjoy it. It's humor on my side, but damn it, I'm going to tell the story. So, who has a funny 911 story they would like to share? Oh, snaps, right off the bat. It only takes one story, again, for them to all go downhill, so we'll see how this goes.
So this was actually my very first 911 call after I finished all my training. I was on my own. And it was a guy calling. He sounded calm, like nothing was going on, and he wanted to talk to EMS. Well, I worked for a sheriff's department, so we transferred to EMS, and I put him on the line with EMS. They're getting their information. He's calm as day with them, and then they ask him, "What do you need the ambulance for?" And he just screams, "My balls are the size of grapefruits."
That was it. Okay, hold on. Before we go to you here, I mean, like, what's the protocol? You're like,
For me, I hang up. I'm done with the call.
oh, no, for real?
EMS. Yeah, he just needed EMS, and at that point, it's EMS's problem to deal with.
All right. We'll get to you here in just one moment.
Got one to kind of go off of that.
Snaps. Like I said, one story.
I actually work for a county hospital's police department, and so I get to see a lot of the incoming stuff as well. Yes, and on camera, of course. In regards to that story, I looked up on camera one day in one of our trauma bays, and there was a male in a black shirt with like gold, like shiny stuff on it. And I was like, why is the doctor with his face in his crotch? And I couldn't figure it out. Well, he had gotten a metal cock ring stuck over everything. And they literally had to use 3 different saws to try to get this off. So it was quite comical to watch. But his balls were definitely purple on that one.
This is why I said I apologize. Okay, hold on. This gentleman's got a story, and oh man.
So I took a call where the guy says, I think we need an ambulance. Sure, what's the problem? And I go through the process of getting the victim, the age and the weight, and what's the problem? Hold on, let me let her talk to you. She comes on the phone, and they were playing with one of those 2-inch finger vibrators, and it went in the back door, past the point of no return, and her chief complaint was, this shit is still on. The best part about it was the neighbor calls the husband, the ambulance is at your house, so the husband shows up at the hospital, and the Sancho is at the hospital with the girl.
Yes, definitely a plot twist. That's some Twilight Zone shit right there. Oh my lord. Holy moly.
Okay, so there's been 2 ball stories, now there's going to be 2 butt stories. So, one of my first 911 calls after EMD training, multiple years ago, and a lady calls in and says that her husband needs an ambulance, get the address, all that good stuff. And when I said, okay, well, what's going on with him and everything, she told me that he had a candle up his butt. And I was like, okay. So being fresh out of EMD and trying to go through protocol and everything, I got to thinking, I was like, well, I mean, I guess they kind of need to know what size it is. So I asked him, or her, I said, well, like, what size is it? Is it like a birthday candle, or is it like a votive, or like I was naming several things off to her. And she then told me that it was the size of the top of a large Sonic drink. So, a 3-wick, yeah. So, he did end up getting transported, and he had to have surgery. And they said it was pretty bad. But one other thing, have y'all ever heard of Israel Keys, the serial killer?
Yes.
Okay. So I was the dispatcher that got the teletype the morning that he was called. Dispatchers are not ever recognized for any of the awesome things that happen in the background at all. So after being involved, putting 2 and 2 together, after receiving the teletype from Anchorage, it's crazy how you can sit there bored at 3 o'clock in the morning and you're like, okay, well, maybe he is on 59. The People's Bank in Shepherd is not far from here. What's the closest town? Where's hotels, So I put it together. I sent one of my officers out there. They sat on his vehicle for a little while. DPS, I was already off shift when they did catch him, though. DPS ended up pulling him over with my officers. I told my dispatcher that had left or relieved me that morning. I told her, I was like, hey, if y'all get him, like, I want to know. Like, I'd been following the case, and so I thought it was really crazy that he was close to us. And so she called me at 11 o'clock that morning, and the FBI was on their way, and they had him in our interview room. So to be able to be a part of something that is for other people's families to have justice, yeah, he took the coward way out and ended up killing himself, but in prison or in jail. But to be able to be a part of that and dispatchers get recognition, they don't, and it's sad. I believe that they should be able to get recognition for it. So watching like the Netflix series and stuff on it and everything, and it's like, oh, if it wasn't for the officer. Okay, well, if it wasn't for the dispatchers in the dark room in the middle of the night receiving a teletype and putting 2 and 2 together, no one would have ever went. And so keep doing what you're doing. Don't ever feel like your job is useless, because it's not, because you are the true first responders. And so that was a little funny and then a little bit of serious.
So it's going to start off a little serious, but it doesn't end up that way. I took a burglary of a habitation in progress call. This guy calls and he says, I just woke up out of bed and somebody broke into my house. And I said, okay, where are they at now? He said, they're on the floor. I said, they're on the floor? He said, yeah, he was standing by my bed and I woke up and I beat the shit out of him. And so afterwards, I look at the mugshot and this like 19-year-old Hispanic kid with a bowl cut had a boot print the size of my hand on his face. So I thought that was pretty funny.
So mine was a child caller. And super respectful, I'm going, hello, 911, hello, and then I hear like oh, I'm sorry, didn't mean to call. So I was like, okay, can I speak to an adult just to verify everything's okay? They were like, okay. They brought the phone, the mother said, this is 911, just wanted to verify everything was okay. And the mother was like, oh my gosh, yes, everything is fine. Everything's fine. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, I had him bring the phone to you and just make sure everything's A-okay, but if y'all are good, I'll just go ahead and let you go. She was like, yes, that would be great. Thank you so much. And as I'm hanging up, she screams his name. She's like, okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Steven! And I just hear a wah! And then it just disconnects entirely. So it was, I was trying to save him. I was like, no, he was super helpful. She's like, I bet he was. I bet he was super helpful. And I was like, oh, that poor child. All right.
So keeping the theme with sort of the couples datings, got a call from a man. He said he needed an officer to come by. I said, okay, what's going on? Well, my wife and I, we were in bed, so I used some handcuffs, and I lost the key. Okay. Is she okay? Is she in danger or anything like that? No, she's not, but she's really mad. said, I bet so. I said, okay, sir, let me send someone over to help. Send an officer over to help. She helped. She comes back to the station. I said, so what was up with that call? She said, 2 naked people walked out, and the wife was handcuffed, hands tied behind her back. She's really embarrassed. So they try to chat their way out of it. Officer just says, here you go, here's your key, I'm out. Cleared the scene and left. So it was a really awkward call.
Awesome. Thank you so much. When you turn it on, the speaker's going to fart, so just so you know.
Was it going to be me?
I mean, you can drop heat if you want. You right? Yeah.
So we received a call of a theft, and it's a little old lady, so I'm going to imitate her voice. Yes, ma'am, I need to report a theft. Theft of what, ma'am? My money. Do you know who stole your money? Well, I had my money in my Depend, and now my money is not gone. It's gone. They done went in my Depend and stole my money. Ma'am, did you say your Depend? Yes, my Depend, my diaper. You don't know what a diaper is? Okay, we'll send the police.
Amazing. Nice. Oh, you have it, right?
Oh,
all right, here you go.
So I'm a mom of 3, and I got into work at 7 p.m. to work my overtime shift. And I'm checking my emails. We get a priority 1 abandoned. Click to, call it back. Something seems really familiar about the phone number. I don't know why. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to just research this just while I'm calling them. Nobody answered. So I called back. I was like, something doesn't feel right. Does not feel right at all. When I look up the number, it's my husband's number and my home address. It comes back to the phone number. It was my 2 girls. My youngest one talked my oldest one into calling 911 because she wanted to talk to mommy.
Oh, damn.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right. This has been good. I told you, once we got to the funny part, you'd be feeling a lot better. All right, so this was years ago when I was in dispatch. Can you hear me in the back there all right? Okay, good. So in my dispatch center, we would do 3 12s and 1 4-hour shift, all right? And what do you see?
There's a hair that's just floating around. Sorry.
Oh, I saw you looking at something. I was like, dude, if Charlotte is coming down, you need to tell me. I mean, he can chill on my shoulder, it's fine, but I just wanted to know what it was. Started to freak me out there a little bit. So we would do 3 12s and a 4-hour. I don't know why they did it that way, but the 4-hour always landed on a Wednesday. And this one, I was going in for the 1A to 5A shift. I had taken my nap. I was ready to go in for the midnight shift. I thought that I was going to be on backup phones and radios. So I'm headed to work. I'm hungry, but I also got to stay awake, right? So stop at the gas station. I get a can of Red Bull, 12 ounce. And I'm looking for something to eat. And I see something. And it is a gas station burrito. I always love when I mention that because everyone's like, oh shit, we're going to get into literally. So what ended up happening, I end up getting this burrito, right? And it's called the Red Bomb. You can look it up. I know. Little did I know that was going to be, kind of future. So I get to work. I get there early enough so that I can microwave this thing. And again, I thought I was going to be on backup. Nope, I was on main phones. I was like, fine, it's fine. I'll be all right. So I go and I sit down, I destroy this burrito. It was amazing. It was so good. And I chugged that Red Bull. And I was like, hell yeah, bring on the night. I'm ready to go. I get a phone call. And it depends on what area you're in the United States, but it's either BOL or BOLO. we would use BOL. Same thing, be on the lookout. The county south of us is calling because they're chasing someone on the highway and they're getting close to going into our area. So while I'm talking to them and I'm getting all this information, I start to twitch a little bit. Wait, what? What's going on? I start getting like that bubble gut, The stomach starts bubbling and everything. I'm like, hell no.
There you go.
This test.
Just stay right there.
Test. Oh, hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. So I'm up there and everything, right? Or I'm sitting there taking this call, but I get this bubble gut. I'm like, hell no, this cannot be happening right now. I'm typing in all this information, and I'm just like, just kind of twitching. Like, this cannot be happening. So I put him on hold because I started sweating. It was bad. I was sweating, and not just sweating. I mean, if anybody would have been over there by me at the time, I probably would have smelled like beef, because that's how bad I was sweating. It was not good. And I'm like, I don't know how it is in your dispatch center, but in mine, we had a bathroom inside, right where we're at, and I wasn't about to drop heat right there, And we've got a bathroom down the hallway. That's where I wanted to go. So I put him on hold, and I stand up looking over at my coworkers. I'm like, one of you's got to take this call. I got to run down the hall. They're like, okay. So I start hauling ass running, like enough where you could see like smoke coming out. Well, hold on. Hopefully smoke, not anything else. And I go, I do my thing, and I come back. I'm like, all right, I'll take the call back. So I'm talking with them. And this is still going on, and then, again, I'm like, now sequels are the worst, right? Well, in the shit world, it's the same. So I'm sitting there trying to hold it back. And I don't know if you've ever tried to hold in gas, but that shit travels up, right? And it turns into like a back fart. So I'm like, burnt, like, oh God, no. I'm like, stay together, please stay together. And I had already sent a message, I might have to get up and go again, but I'm also thinking, like, what are they doing with this car? Like, why haven't they found it? Why am I still on the phone with you? And I couldn't take it anymore. I put him on hold, and I stand up, and my buddy stands up, and he's like, you gotta poop, dude? So I was like, this is not a warrant, you don't have to confirm it, okay? So I haul ass, again, do my thing, and I come back. Nobody's on the phone anymore. I was like, oh, thank God, it's over. It is over. Phone call again. Same people. Because this dude was doing circles. And so he would go back into their county, then come into ours, and I'm thinking, just put the stop sticks down. I'm going through my own shit right now, literally. Like, I can't handle this anymore. So my trilogy of poo now starts happening again, and I'm like, so I put him on hold, and I stand up, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna make it down the hallway, I'm gonna go right here. And they're like, what? I was like, no, not right here. Not literally right here. I'm gonna use the bathroom that's in here. And they're like, all right, dude, go for it. So I go into the bathroom, right? And I turn on the water all the way. I turn on the fans. Anything to mask the war I'm about to go into. Because if you've ever watched Dumb and Dumber, you know exactly what I'm about to get into. So I get out of the bathroom, and they're just laughing their asses off at me. And I'm like, screw you guys. I'm going to turn up the heat so you can smell it. So, years later, I'm on a family trip to Washington State, and we're passing through Montana. Stop at a gas station. And I'm walking through, and I get a twitch. I was like, oh, that's familiar. And I turn around, and there's a cooler full of Red Bomb burritos next to a display of Red Bulls. And all I could think was, screw you, Montana.
That's my story. So they're going to come up here really quick and do some giveaways, but I just want to tell you, as we're going to the end of this, thank you again for being here for this session, sharing your stories and being here in support of each other. Not a lot of people can do the job that you do, so hold your head up high, please. Take the rest of this time while you're here in this conference. Learn everything that you can and network. That's what this is all about. So a round of applause again for everyone who shared the story. Thank you.
As always, open mic does not disappoint. Some of those stories were, and not all of the stories end up making it into the episode. The reason for that is because some of those stories are just meant for us in that moment in time. And if you were there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It was an excellent session. And again, thank you, all of you, for being there, not only for the Imagine Listening portion of it, but of course for the continued part, which is open mic live. One of the things that was new that we had there was the support dogs. We had a couple amazing women that were there with their dogs, just in case, some people needed, some comfort from those dogs, because they're very, very loving. That everybody just love dogs. And when you've got some hard stuff that's going on like that, they're able to give some comfort. And so they were there for that. And they were also there for this portion that you just heard, open mic. And when I had first started, I looked over at them and I said, I'm really sorry. Like, I apologize for some of the stuff you might hear, but they were loving it. They were laughing so hard, and they just had an excellent time with all of us there. So thank you, ladies, for being there, but also everyone in the audience. Thank you for being there for the episode. I'm going to be traveling around and doing Imagine Listening and open mic in a few different conferences. So I look forward to seeing all of you out there for those sessions. And for this episode and all the others, you can view it on Facebook as well as YouTube and Twitter. Again, this episode is sponsored by InDigital, Rapid Deploy, and Carbyne. And a shout out to patrons as always. Thank you so much for everything. And if you have any comments, questions, or you ever want to be a guest on the show, you can email us, and that's going to be wttpodcast@gmail.com. If you are looking for any bonus content, you can check us out and support us, patreon.com/WTTpodcast. And you can listen to this show 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. You can also follow us on Twitter. That is @91podcast. You can like us on Facebook. That is facebook.com/withinthetrenchespodcast. Have a good one, everyone, and we'll see you in the next one.